Thank you, everybody. Ina mana, ina reo, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia koutou te tangata whenua, te awe, te ati awa, e mihi nui kia koutou o tēnei wā. Kia tātou te hangaora, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora everyone, ko Sharon toko ingoa. My name is Sharon Lloyd and I am the Chief Executive of The Circle here in New Zealand. And on behalf of The Circle, Oracle and Team Cloud, I am delighted to welcome you all today. I would like to pay and welcome especially Garrett Ilg, who is the Executive Vice President for Japan and Asia Pacific at Oracle. Garrett, welcome back to Wellington. Absolutely pleasure to have you here in New Zealand and look forward to hearing more from you shortly. I also welcome our other speakers who are here with us today. Paul Platen, who is Chair of the Digital Identity New Zealand. Chelliah, Senior Vice President for Technology and Customer Strategy for JAPAC at Oracle. Louise Francis, who is Head of Asia Pacific Public Sector Research and Country Manager for IDC. And Ian Rogers, who is Co-Founder and CEO of Team Cloud. A warm welcome to all of you. We really appreciate your time to be here with us today and to bring us the latest thinking about challenges and approaches in data sovereignty and the importance of local solutions, especially amidst the rapid growth, as we all know, of AI and cloud technologies. I'm also really delighted to extend a warm welcome to our members, the representatives and officials of the government. It's brilliant to have you all here with us. The Circle is really committed to bringing together communities as well as ideas that challenge us to think differently. Oracle has been one of the fastest growing hyperscalers, and their partnership with Team Cloud as New Zealand's only data sovereign cloud services provider is certainly an exciting opportunity and milestone. And so the Circle is really proud to partner with both Team Cloud and Oracle in bringing you today's event. Oracle are a long-standing partner of the Circle, and it's brilliant to have John and the team here with us. We worked together across Australia and New Zealand for well over 16 years, and it's been brilliant to meet the team, IM and Cloud team recently, and we look forward to our developing relationship into the future. And now, in particular, I also wanted to acknowledge with this partnership how both organisations actively support sustainability and diversity, which is, of course, very important to the Circle as well. Now, the format for today, shortly we will hear from Paul Platen, then after lunch, Chelliah will give a short presentation on sovereign cloud and AI fueling the art of possible. This will be followed by our panel discussion with Garrett Ilg, Louise Francis and Ian Rogers. And during this time, I'll of course have some questions prepared, but we really want to hear from all of you as well, and in particular having Garrett here. So we do welcome your questions at that time. Now, I did want to note, you've probably seen the camera at the back of the room and at the front here. So we are on the record today, and we are filming the content for purposes into the future. And you are more than welcome to share your thoughts on and about the event on social media, and you can use the hashtag #TheNetworkEffect. Now, for the housekeeping, in case of a fire or alarm or earthquake in Wellington, please take the stairs and exit out of the building or under the tables as directed by the team here at the Intercontinental. And for an emergency, we will be across in the car park at the assembly point. The toilets are located back out the door and round to your right. Now, I am delighted to invite Paul Platen, who is the Chair for Digital Identity New Zealand, to commence the program for today and share his reflections on New Zealand's journey towards a secure, innovative and inclusive digital future. Please join me in welcoming Paul.
Kia ora koutou katoa. I have the stark realization that I stand between you and lunch, so I'll try and make this as quick as I possibly can. I've had some amazing conversations outside, and I think in the half an hour that we've been there, and talking about some of the most interesting topics around things like cloud storage, talking about artificial intelligence, and I felt depressed because I'm coming to talk to you about the non-sexy thing called identity and digital identity. But hopefully before we leave here this afternoon, you would think that digital identity is the best thing you can possibly have. If you don't, then we'll keep it going for another hour or so. I just have to put a disclaimer out there. I do not represent the government. I cannot talk on behalf of government, and I will not do that. There are enough people here. Mike West from the Trust Framework Authority, from DIA is here, along with James Little. There's a number of other representatives that are more qualified to speak about government's view than I am. And again, the second part of my disclaimer, it's me, and I apologize. DIN's or digital identity in New Zealand is all about partnership and all about collaboration. It's all about working together. And we were formed in 2019 as an industry association, and part of what we wanted to do was to help New Zealand transform into a digital nation where everybody can prove who they are digitally to any other organization who needs to rely on that identity to do something. Now, it was easier, and I'll probably give away my age, I know I look young, but when I was growing up, it was easy. Everyone believed everything. When I said something and I said, "Hi, I'm Paul," everyone went, "You Paul." When I told the policeman I can drive a car or I'm not drunk, they believed me. Then came technology. DINS is a purpose-driven, it is an inclusive, member-funded organization whose members have a shared passion for the opportunities that digital identity can offer, and we support a sustainable, inclusive, and trustworthy digital future for all New Zealanders. Our mission is, or our purpose is to empower a unified, trusted, and inclusive digital identities ecosystem for New Zealand. And we do that because we want to enhance kawanatanga, rangatiratanga, and oritetanga. Honourable governance, self-determination and agency, and equity and partnerships. We look at fostering collaboration with stakeholders, including government, including the industry partners we have in the public, and we want to improve privacy, reduce fraud, promote inclusivity, and ultimately contribute to a more efficient and trustworthy digital economy. And those are such loaded words. When I looked at what I was doing, I changed my topic 3 or 4 times because I was afraid I wasn't getting to the essence of, you always say, so if they must leave with 3 thoughts, what would those 3 thoughts mean? I didn't even know myself what it was supposed to be. But secure, inclusive, and innovative are the benchmarks and the foundation of what we do. And I look at something that people like Team Cloud are doing, and I look at the innovation that's there. I wonder about the inclusivity, and I ask about the trust. Now, our history in digital in New Zealand is not very old. I love architecture, and I have this dream one day that I'm going to build my own house on a piece of land across from a beach, and it's going to be fantastic. And I watch these programs, and someone said in the program on Sunday, New Zealand doesn't have a very long architectural history, so we are not encumbered by the architectural practices of the old worlds. It's the same in the digital world. 1960, we had our first computers introduced to Treasury to pay our public servants. 60 years later, try and do anything in this country without a computer, without a network, without software, and without data. It works until it doesn't work. And then everybody notices. But our history is that we adapt to change. And change is constant. We have not new terms anymore, but things like Nevin's law, which talks about the increase in quantum computational power. Right? And I get confused, because I grew up on Moore's law, and Moore spoke about processing power increasing every second year. But what it does mean, both Moore and Nevin's, what it means is that things are changing so rapidly that if we do not keep our focus on what's happening, we can get left behind. It's easy for us to think that we isolate from the rest of the world because of our locality. I believed that. I wrote a letter to a friend of mine soon after arriving in New Zealand, and I said, the letter was entitled 30 Hours from Everything. And I was bemoaning my lot and going, I'm so far from everyone that I love and care about. I can't go to weddings or baptisms. My age now, it's just funerals, no longer weddings or baptisms. But because of technology, I can now participate in everything from this side of the world. 12 hours away. I can attend weddings, I can attend christenings, I can attend funerals. I have to buy my own food, but I can attend them. And so when we as New Zealanders, we think that we are isolated from the rest of the world, we are not. This past weekend, and that's enough said about that, we won't talk about that. Someone actually made a very succinct comment when, again, I'm going to apologize, all the ambulance chasers came about and said, oh, look what happened. And he said, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And in the technology world, we all live in glass houses. It happened, and it's going to happen. Anyway, moving on, sorry. So I do digress sometimes. So digital identity underpins the majority of all our online transactions. In fact, it is the foundation for all digital transformation, from banking to loyalty programs, to purchasing products and services, to third parties that require a level of confidence in the identity, again, relative to the transaction, relative to the risk of fraud. They all look at this digital world. Studies have stated, and this is about a year or so ago, studies have stated that the potential benefit of enabling digital identity in a mature economy like ours is between 0.5 and 3% of GDP. So a year ago, those numbers were roughly 1.5 to 9 billion New Zealand dollars. That's the value if we invest in digital identities to support and enable our digital economy. We've seen the evolution of economy. We have new marketing terms like phygital, which is the intersection between the physical and the digital world. We didn't go to shops for a while, and we all did online shopping for groceries and for clothes, and understood that, if you bought a pair of shoes online, it may not fit you. But that's increased, and the value, the NZ Post research for online spending in Q1 of 2024, they said $1.39 billion was spent online, which was 10.3% of the overall retail spend. Not a big amount, but it's growing upwards of 5% every single year. Add to this that internet is available everywhere, it's ubiquitous. Add to that increased activities from people that don't like us being happy, cyber adversaries, call them what you want to. I attended a conference where they called them cyber miscreants, which I found strange. If you think about the explosion of artificial intelligence and everywhere it's being done, if you read an article on LinkedIn and it starts off with, in these times, AI wrote that thing. In its exponential times, AI wrote that thing. AI is everywhere. And then we think about that and the imminent arrival of quantum computing. And then you add to that the skills shortage which we experience. And it could seem like the odds are totally stacked against us to be successful. But it's not. If we apply principles and if we use digital identity as an enabler for the digital economy. We have looked in New Zealand and you've seen the increase in financial scams. Our banks are now all coming along and they're doing fantastic adverts. Again, I hope I don't insult anybody, but if you aren't old enough to know what CHIPS is, California Highway Patrol, if you aren't old enough to know what that is, then that advert just misses the mark. My 17-year-old said, "Dad, what's the point of the advert?" I'm like, "You shut up." That was the foundation of my teenage years, CHIPS. Right? But you see them all coming in because there's an increase. Our people are being targeted. Their trust is being eroded. And as a result, they make that across everything. It's no longer just those bad people. It's, I don't trust anyone anymore. We have the realization that what should be at the forefront of our approach to a secure, inclusive, and innovative digital future. There is a very popular, well, I think it's popular because I like it, Maori proverb, which answers the question. It says, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. That's what matters, the people. And if we agree as a group that it is about the people, then we agree that we have to take the time and effort to explore who the people are. I'll give you a hint, it's not just a name. We have to explore what they connect to. We have to explore how we see that. We have to take the time to understand all of that because it is a complex environment. I believe, and I would because I'm in digital identity, that it is a key enabler for a thriving digital economy. If I know who you are, and if I know who you are in every context, then I can provide you a better service. I can give you more things. I can enable more things. Now we agree, I'm hoping that we agree, that we have the responsibility to protect the country and protect not just its citizens, but everyone who lives here. This is a difference. We have to foster innovation and we have to foster this digital economy. We must facilitate digital inclusion to ensure that no one is left behind. These are such loaded words, and when we just say those words, it's easy for us to just have this very transparent view and go and just say the words. When we believe that no one is left behind, then we believe in bridging the digital divide. We believe in supporting marginalized groups through accessibility to digital services. We believe it, and it's not just a punchline at the end of our brochure. Digital identity enables all of that. New Zealand, we want to be a nation where people thrive, where community, economy, and environment of New Zealand flourishes, and we are prosperous. That's a very noble vision to have. But while we are striving to do this, there are challenges. We can't ignore challenges. While we are part of this global village, and everyone can say, oh, look what they did. You know, if we look at this identity, everyone always goes, look what Canada's done, look what Estonia's done, look what... That's fantastic, but you're not New Zealand. You're not Aotearoa. It is unique when compared to some of our peers in Europe. The need to focus on tikanga is culturally specific to te ao Māori whakapapa. We can't adopt that from comparable countries in the way that much of our ecosystem has been copied. EU laws, EIDAS, the Estonia program, we've copied a lot of those things in, but we can't copy tikanga. This is clearly illustrated by the effect on taonga regarding mana in the storage of facial images and other identifying attributes away from the person, whether it be on an on-premise server or a cloud server. Now, we regularly conduct both conferences and research into digital identity, and our last one was into identity and trust in an increasingly digital New Zealand. It highlighted the issues holding back more rapid uptake of digital identity and hence holding back the growth of the economy, and it has remained constant over the last 4 years. We've skipped that research paper for this year because we want to focus on something more important. And we have commissioned a research report on local biometrics. What does it look like for New Zealand? And having that available. So the findings and the recommendations, in fact, in addition to that, we also, in the previous one, we actually went to businesses and we asked businesses, do you know what legislation is coming? Do you know what your obligations are in preserving personal information in terms of the Privacy Act? Do you understand the challenges with your staff and your teams? And we put all that together in a report. And we came up with 4 key themes throughout all of this. The first being, we need to build trust. The second is an increase in education understanding. The third is driving confidence. And the fourth is developing the digital identity sector. I want to leave you with 3 key thoughts. That in order for us to be able to develop and build our digital economy, we have to build it on the foundation of the digital strategy for New Zealand, which talks about mahi tika, trust, mahi tahi, which is inclusion, and mahi ake, which is growth. When we include trust, inclusion, and growth or innovation in our strategies, then we are able to increase the digital ecosystem. Are we there yet? No. Are we on our way there? Absolutely. Do we have the right frameworks in place? Yes, we do. All it needs for us is that we stop competing for attention with each other, that we start collaborating with each other in order to achieve the goals of being a prosperous New Zealand and using digital identity to drive the digital ecosystem. Kia ora, thank you very much.
Welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. And for those of you who are still eating, please do continue to keep eating. It's important. Food is important to the circle. Now, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome to the stage Chris Chelliah, Senior Vice President for Technology and Customer Strategy for JAPAC at Oracle, and Chris is going to be talking to us about sovereign cloud and AI, fueling the art of possible. Sounds like a piece of work, Chris. Please join me in welcoming Chris to the stage. Just got your
Everybody, thank you. Start my little timer here. Good afternoon, and please continue eating that lovely piece of steak that we had on the table there, because it is important for the circle here. So, my name's Chris Chelliah, and the topic here today, thought for food is what I like to call it. Thought for food as you enjoy your meal, and we're serving up on the menu today what I think might be relevant and interesting to all of you. 3 topics around cloud and sovereign cloud, around data, and of course, nothing's complete these days without bringing AI into the context here. So let's get to it over the next 8 to 10 minutes for me to cover off some of these topics and bring that into context. So I'll start with AI and AI adoption, and I think what you see here, is no surprise to anybody in this room here. This adoption curve is steep. It's a steep learning curve, and it shouldn't surprise us. That's a good thing, because for once, technology is actually learning from us. We can converse in language and image and sound, in video, and teach and train technology. So what you see here is the rate of adoption of AI. And that rate of adoption, just over the last 12 to 18 months, has eclipsed everything that you've seen in the other mainstream technologies that we see and use every day. So in the last 18 months, we've eclipsed what PCs did in 4 to 5 years, or even the smartphone in 4 to 5 years. And that's really incredible. That's really incredible. But if you look at it, because I talked about the topics around the art of the possible. But if you look at it, who's using this technology today? The adoption has skyrocketed, but where is it? Where is it, in the enterprise, in the mainstream? If I was to ask for a show of hands in the room here as to who's used AI as a consumer, we'll be close to 100%, if not 100%. Everybody, there you go, right? Everybody's done something around image generation or text summarization or even sound clip or video using AI as a consumer. But if I was to ask for a show of hands, where is this widespread use in the enterprises, in the governments, it won't be that many hands up, because we haven't really crossed that chasm. And really, this is the art of the possible, and this is what we really want to get to. And Paul, I pick on some of the topics you mentioned around provenance being a part of it. So provenance, the other hand, on sovereignty, being part of the inhibitors in getting us to where we need to be to have AI pervasive in mainstream. So I alluded to this. 2 big uses of AI today, 2 extremes actually. On one side, you have large language models, these models that are being created, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't need to get into the billions and the trillions of parameters, but they're getting bigger. My analogy to this is they're a point-in-time summary. A model is a point-in-time summary of everything digital that's out there in consumer space. So if you go back, and I'm showing my age as well, it's like the Encyclopedia Britannica, the 1980 version. That's LLM version 1. And then there's the 1982 version. That's LLM number 2. It's bigger, it's got more current information, but it's a point in time. And somewhere in there, World Book comes out with theirs. So you've got different models, different encyclopedia sets. But effectively, these are a summary of all general knowledge at a particular point in time. And the LLMs are consuming and driving a lot of the momentum behind AI and fueling that. That's one extreme of it. But if I would ask for show of hands, who's building an LLM tomorrow? Probably not in this room. On the other side of it is that consumer space that we talked about, where all of us as consumers have used elements of what these large language models have created, and we're using it more for personal rather than for business, for enterprise, and what we're doing. So really, the art of the possible, happens when we can take these 2 extremes and make them into the mainstream. We've got to bring these technologies into the mainstream where every organization, where every one of you is saying, I use it personally. It's a crossover technology, but I also use it in the business. It's making our business, it's making the services we provide to our citizens more effective. And that's really when AI becomes mainstream. And we're not there today, frankly. Massive rates of adoption, but it's with large language modules, and it's in the consumer space. We're not doing inferencing at scale within the enterprises today. That's not all bad, because I think you've got to start somewhere, and I think we've got the ingredients to get us to take this technology to mainstream. So what are some of the inhibitors from preventing us to get there? If we were to look at this, and this is where I get to say and speak in some lovely places, Wellington being one of them, but I also get to bring in Bob Marley's song into AI and in technology. So, no data, no AI, right? So you see that? See what I did with Bob Marley there? No data, no AI, yeah? Okay, so that's exactly it. If we don't have data, and again, Paul, we happen to be sitting next to each other, but I'm just picking on some of what I heard you say. Provenance, identity is a key aspect of it, but also sovereignty of data, residency of data is the other key aspect of it. If we can't understand the provenance of how we got to that inference from AI to the source of where that was trained, then you're not going to make AI mainstream in the services that we deliver to our customers in this room today, right? You can't throw something out there to the web, it comes back with the answer, and then you tell your consumer, your citizen, that's the answer, without knowing how you got to it. It's not going to become mainstream with that. So really, no data, no AI. Bob Marley said it all by himself. So these foundation models in consumer AI that we have, foundation models have everything about the internet. Remember I said it's a point-in-time summary. It's the Britannica 1982, and the Britannica 1984 gets slightly better than the Britannica 1982. But to bring this mainstream into the enterprise, that's what we need. What we need to do is bring that knowledge, that general knowledge, that lexicon that's wide, and it's everything in the internet, and bring that and tie that directly to two things. One is tie that to the lexicon of your enterprise, to your data. Your data running in a sovereign environment, and sovereign can be sovereign in country, sovereign can be sovereign inside the enterprise four walls. And when you do that, you also bring currency to the data, because the data within your enterprise is changing, it's reflected, it's monitored every day. Those transactions are happening every day. So when we can bring the best of large language models and what they have inside a sovereign environment where there's trust, there's provenance, and tie that in with transactional data that's running on premises or extended to a sovereign cloud. And when we can do that, when we can bring those two things together, is when we've taken those two extremes and brought them into a mainstream. And this afternoon, I'm not going to steal the thunder of my speakers coming up next. I think you're going to hear a little bit about that, how we've brought sovereign, secure, autonomous capabilities to bring the data piece into it, so that you have AI and the ability to take AI mainstream in the New Zealand market. So success of AI, as I said, is dependent on access to data. If we look at, again, the organizations and where we are today, from what I heard, New Zealand with the ID seems to be a lot closer than some of the other countries and the locations that we work with. But data is typically diverse, different types, it's isolated, and it's fragmented. And really, the ability to bring all of that together, cloud was supposed to bring different data types together, structured, unstructured, video, text, audio, bring all of that together. And it really brings life to data when you can look at it as one. Look at it as one in a trusted source with the trusted authority. And really, as we bring these things together in a sovereign cloud, the ability to vectorize all of your data, because vectorizing the data is important to then inference and learn against that when you apply that against a large language model. So the ability to do that in a secure environment without having to rewrite your data policies that you have today. Every organization has got data policies and standard operating procedures on how you manage data today. The conventional reference architectures is, oh, AI's here, pick all of that up. Years of governance and frameworks that you've got in place, and move that to use AI into an AI environment. And I think what we've done is flip this equation across. At Oracle, what we've got with our DNA, with data within our DNA, we've sort of flipped the problem around. That's telling me I'm out of time. There you go. Which brings me to my very slide. We've flipped the problem around. We've flipped the problem around by saying you can have two extremes, but really what you want to do is not take your data to AI, but bring AI to your data. And that's exactly what you want to do. Bring AI to your data in a secure environment, in a sovereign cloud that can host all of your data. And within that cloud, bring the models and act against that and inference against that and tie that back to digital ID frameworks to provide provenance. So you've got provenance of identity, you've got provenance of data. You can then deliver mainstream AI with trust and with reliability and with inclusion. That's it, food for thought. I'm going to hand it back to you to get out to dessert. Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you.
Now come to our panel discussion, and as I shared, we do want to hear from all of you. So if you have a question, please do just get my attention. We have Kat here who's got a microphone that she'll bring to you. And if you can just introduce yourself and where you're from so our panel know who they're speaking to, would be brilliant. But to kick us off, thank you all for being here. Garrett, as I shared, it's so exciting to have an EVP from Oracle here with us in Wellington, and I hope you've felt some warm Kiwi hospitality since you arrived. I'm really interested in two things. Your initial impressions, and I know you've been here once a long while ago, but impressions on New Zealand and where we're at. We're always interested in New Zealand to hear the international experience. Sorry. Tell everyone else to use it. Is it on? No? Hello? Thank you. Was it working? Hello. Oh, there you go. That's definitely on. Okay, wonderful. So, warm welcome to Garrett to recap and initial impressions of New Zealand, and then the exciting part, what you're here for, and talking about the partnership with Team Cloud and what the impact will have for the technology landscape in New Zealand.
Well, first of all, we're going to share microphones. First of all, thank you very much. This is quite an event. Thank you to all of you for taking time in your busy schedules to join us, Team Cloud and Oracle here today. This is very exciting. My name is Garrett Ilg. I am the Executive Vice President. I'm responsible for Japan and Asia Pacific. It's a large region for Oracle. I cover Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Singapore, New Zealand, and Australia. So I was asked at the table, how much do you travel? And I travel about, on average, 10,000 miles a week. So about 26 days a month. So one of the things at Oracle is we're very eager and always very happy to get near our customers and our partners. And I will tell you, this event really does it. So thank you so much for making my day wonderful as well. The other thing I'd like to share with you is I've just come from Japan, actually. And Japan and New Zealand have two very important points in common. Everybody wants to go to those two places in the world. When I told my friends I was coming here, the amount of direct messaging I received about how cool it was I was going to New Zealand and how awesome it was to be able to visit this country. You, as people who live here, may or may not feel that reflection, but I have messages from people from Boston, Massachusetts, to Tokyo, Japan, to France and London are like, wow, I just would love to get there. So your image as far as tourism and visitation is extremely positive around the world. My responsibility here today is to follow up on a promise I made almost 9 months to the day ago. We sat down, Craig and Ian, and we were at a conference in Las Vegas, and we agreed to do this. We shook hands and we said, let's go build a hyperscaler in New Zealand, for New Zealand. And that was 9 months ago. Some of you might be aware about the market that hyperscalers operate in. Some promises have been made to this country 2 years ago, 4 years ago, and you're still waiting for those promises to be upheld. This group of folks got together, made the commitment, organized themselves, were incredibly fluid and incredibly supportive of working with Oracle, and they got it done. We handed the keys over, the data center's up and running, we've signed our first customer, and I will tell you, not only is that exciting, but what the opportunities that's going to create are incredible. At Oracle, Larry Ellison, who is our founder and CTO, and Safra Katz, who's our CEO, who I report directly to, get an update on this every week. They know I'm here right now, and I will speak to them next Monday when I get back to, well, I should be in India next Monday, but I'll speak to them from India to tell them about this event and about the excitement this is generating. Why is this important to all of you, though? And you heard a little bit from Chris, and you'll hear more from the panel today. I'd like to start with, because I've been reading about the economy in New Zealand and the political landscape and some of the challenges that the country is having right now, and I think that this is really good news for New Zealand. And the reason why is that Oracle has flipped the business paradigm on its head. Typically, and I won't say just American companies, but being an American, I can say this, American companies will come into a country, be it Japan, be it here, be it Singapore, be it India, they will find partners and distributors, they will set up a value proposition, and they'll sell $1 of technology. They'll pay some very good friend, very good partner, very good distributor 6% of that, and they'll take 94 cents back to the United States. This is not happening here. This is Team Cloud's business. Oracle is a compute and storage provider. We are part of the infrastructure. And the agreement and the financials stay with Team Cloud, and they stay in New Zealand. The bulk of that expenditure is going to remain in your economy and keep cycling. The Japanese have caught on to this. We have got these up and running with Nomura Research Institute in Tokyo with 147 banks connected to an identical infrastructure. Fujitsu has just signed up for 3 of these in Japan. And the Japanese, much like yourselves, are very proud of their country. They like to innovate, but they're tired of just passing the money through and seeing it disappear. And what we've done here is we've brought not only the first hyperscaler to New Zealand with Team Cloud, but we've brought a business model where you have local support, local contracting, local expenditure, and the currency and the funds stay local to the country. And our job here is to support Team Cloud, and my job, with the help of Mr. Ellison and Ms. Katz, is to help and drive innovation here so that you can change the paradigm of your economy. You can take your young folks that are out in universities and teach them low-cost compute and get them to be developing infrastructure of their own. You can take the enterprises and you keep the data sovereign so they can promise to their customers, your data's not sitting out there in Paris or in Virginia in the United States or somewhere up in Tokyo. Your data set is staying inside New Zealand. And then last but not least, the most important change is that it's going to unleash innovation. Because one thing about the world that has changed dramatically, and I've been doing this for 40 years, innovation is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter anymore if you're far away. It doesn't matter anymore if you're big. You don't have to be big and near to win anymore in this world. What you have to be is innovative, you have to be bright, and you have to be energetic and aggressive. And if you do that, you can build an economy that, if I may, outpunches your weight class by far. And I think this is an opportunity for New Zealand, and what Team Cloud has done, and the leadership here by taking that very bold and aggressive step to get this going and do so fast, I think it's going to be something that the young people of future generations and all of us in business now can leverage to drive a whole new paradigm. Because again, you're not far away on the internet, and you're not of scale that you can't compete again on the internet. The leveling of the playing field is here, and Team Cloud has brought that to you.
Hello. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. It is so exciting, and there was a lot in that, and I think, just to reiterate, you being here, knowing that the founder and CEO of Oracle have their eyes on New Zealand, no pressure, Ian. It is incredibly exciting, and the opportunity and the scale, thank you from all of us, and great to have everyone here to hear more about it today. Now, Louise, I want to come to you, obviously, with the research and the insights that you're hearing from customers, both locally and in the JAPAC region. We heard from Chris about the rapid growth of the AI market. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you're seeing that AI and cloud technologies are reshaping industries and driving economic growth as well?
Yeah, thanks for that, Sharon. I think a lot of what Garrett's already talked about is what we're seeing reflected in our research. It is a huge opportunity, and it's a huge opportunity for New Zealand to take advantage of this. And I'll just give you a bit of context to the discussion, because we know all this doesn't happen in a vacuum. We know that the environment that we're in does shape a lot of this discussion. And the conversations that we're hearing around cloud and sovereign cloud in particular are becoming really acute in New Zealand. We're getting a lot of questions about it. What does it mean? Is it something that we should be capturing to take advantage of in New Zealand? And is it going to really produce true opportunities? And there are a few key things behind what is driving this investment and this interest in sovereign cloud. We look at the geopolitics of the world at the moment. At the start of this year, we started talking about how important sovereignty was becoming to nations around the world. Governments in particular were really talking to us about what do we need to do to ensure that we have our own self-determination, that we are sustainable in terms of our approach to technology, and also in terms of survivability. So those are the three prongs that we see for digital sovereignty. Data sovereignty is part of that. It's the foundation of sovereignty. When we talk about sovereignty, it's across all technologies. And so you'll start to hear phrases like AI sovereignty. You'll start to hear any kind of new technology is going to have sovereignty tagged onto it. And it is an opportunity as well, because we know that New Zealand has been a strong adopter of cloud right from the start. Hybrid cloud is the preferred cloud model in New Zealand. And we know from our research that having a strong hybrid cloud base or a multi-cloud base is important for sovereignty. So we see a lot of emphasis on the investment in sovereignty based on that cloud. I think the opportunities that we have is about ensuring that we capture the opportunities that are unique to New Zealand. I think there's a lot of discussion about what makes us stand out. How can we compete in terms of artificial intelligence or generative AI? And what we're saying is we're really at the start line here. We're at the same point as a lot of other countries, and therefore how can we capture that opportunity now and make it uniquely special for New Zealand? And the work that we've done around innovation in New Zealand has shown that investors overseas want to invest in New Zealand. And the reason is not because we're good at big technology and those big solutions. It's really those domain-specific solutions. And this is where the big opportunities lie for New Zealand, but also organisations that have got that stable sovereign base. I'm thinking about artificial intelligence in industry context. We know agribusiness is very big, there's big opportunities there. So it's drawing on that experience, it's drawing on our environment to make sure that we can compete on a global basis. Productivity is everywhere. If you talk about cloud and innovation and artificial intelligence, the first thing that comes up in any organisation that we talk to and government that we talk to is around productivity. So this is what we call Horizon 1. This is where we are right now. It's very specific use cases. They're very targeted at creating efficiency in the organisation. It may be around contact centre. It might be around productivity in the workplace. This is what everyone is doing. This is not where New Zealand is going to differentiate. We cannot compete on the scale of large global organisations. Horizon 2 is where it's probably about 2 years out, 3 years out. This is where we start to see some really disruptive technologies. Again, this isn't really where New Zealand is probably going to play. So it's things such as, interestingly, critical national infrastructure. We know that's important based on what's happened over the last few days. It's become forefront of the conversation. So when we talk to governments over the last 8 months, one of the things that kept coming up over and over again is How do we ensure that we are protecting our critical digital infrastructure? Australia's very good at it, the UK is very good at it, they've got a process in place, they've got a plan in place, and you could see on Friday night when the Australian government pulled all those industries together in one room about the conversation within hours. So they were prepared for this situation, but it just shows you how vulnerable infrastructure is. And then we look at the industry use cases. So this is the stuff that's in Horizon 3, and it's about 3 or 4 years away. So now is the time that we can take advantage of that. And I know I'm going on a little bit.
No, I was going to say, following on from that, it'd be great to hear from Ian and talk about what are those benefits of local cloud regions and the AI capabilities as a result of this.
Is this on?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. I mean, it's a fantastic turnout. I'm quite humbled, actually. Not a spare seat in the house, as they say. Yeah, we've been operating, well, Team IM has been operating in New Zealand for a few years. And in the last 2 or 3, we've been, our customers have been asking us about when are you going to have a hyperscaler ability in New Zealand? When we were talking to Oracle, Oracle sort of said, well, we don't really have plans to open it ourselves, but we have this marvelous program that you might be interested in. And sort of the wheels have moved on since then, and now we're here owning and managing our cloud, which is being powered by Oracle Cloud. So the best of both worlds almost. We've got a massive multinational with huge R&D budgets, cloud engineering, cloud infrastructure, and all those services have been delivered by us, a local company. Our office is literally 2 minutes from here. I travel in my working week about 5K a week, walking to and from the office. We're above Charlie Noble, so we always have refreshments on hand. And our 24/7 support centre will be based there as well. So when there are issues or teething problems, we've got a local person who can talk to you. The reason our customers were asking us about sovereign cloud and cloud in New Zealand was because there's geopolitical risks, cyber terrorism, cyber resilience, latency with overseas clouds, and data and sovereignty. And also I think sustainability has become a real feature for a lot of people, and we chose 100% sustainable carbon neutral data centers to host our clouds. I don't sound like it, but I've been living here for 30 years. My children live here, and I want my children, everyone else's, to have a really good future in New Zealand. So we are encouraging lots of small partners to get into our cloud to really promote them overseas. We have some incredibly intelligent, big-brained people in New Zealand with some amazing products, but they never have an opportunity to showcase them. But we know that if we showcase them on Team Cloud, because we use exactly the same cloud infrastructure and services as any other OCI region, that we can sell those products for them and then we can export them. So it's a huge move for New Zealand. And the same token, we can't do everything ourselves. So we're also looking to partner with a lot of the partner community in New Zealand because we think this is an incredible step for us. And I have to thank Oracle. I mean, Oracle has just moved heaven and earth to make this happen. And we've got some people here who've travelled a long distance. We've got Garrett, but we've got Christian over there. Stand up, Christian. Christian runs the team in Seattle. And his people have just worked day and night to make this happen. It's amazing. And the commitment from Oracle has just been huge. So we're incredibly excited. To be able to say that we've got a data resident, data sovereign, resilient cloud in New Zealand is quite amazing for our company, Team Cloud.
Brilliant, and really want to acknowledge the sustainability piece there and your commitment to New Zealand, and you might have underplayed a little bit how quickly you've moved, so at pace as well. So congratulations, Ian, it's really exciting. Now I want to come to all of you in a moment, but before that, Garrett, given the number of miles you travel each month, I know you've seen, to give us a bit of a taste of what's possible, some really exciting customer success stories. So can you share with us a bit about those?
Happy to do so. And I think Louise made a very important statement that we all have to get our heads around, is that this doesn't happen in one quantum leap. This is a journey. There's phases, and your phasing is accurate, maybe a year to 2 years to 3 years. And what I think will happen, and we saw this in Japan, the first edition of this sovereign cloud was deployed by a company called Nomura Research Institute. They are the technology vendor to the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And the Japanese banks said, listen, we're willing to go off-prem and onto cloud for a couple of reasons. One is, every time someone goes into our machine room and does an upgrade on a Sunday night, you know, we literally sleep on nails until Monday morning to see if this thing's going to come back up and run. And we're the Tokyo Stock Exchange. If we fail, the economy begins to fail. The second thing that they were nervous about on-prem was that the infrastructure being patched by human beings, much of what we heard about last week, is incredibly unreliable just because we're humans. We make mistakes, and these things happen. And then the third thing that they wanted to be able to do is to allow the data to be utilized, but they didn't want to grab the data of other countries and other verticals. They wanted it to be their data so they could analyze it, and they were beginning to prepare for AI. And Nomura Research Institute will be the first cloud with GPUs and ARI in this Oracle Cloud environment. But they understood that they needed to be their data to be useful. So overseas, in Japan, we rapidly went from, this is an idea, to now 147 banks and the Tokyo Stock Exchange are on this backbone. The next step to that was they opened it up to other commercial customers. 7-Eleven worldwide is now on this backbone. And we're seeing more and more of interest. The government of Bangladesh has cut over one of these infrastructures in April. And they're moving all of their health and financial infrastructure, both for government and citizen service, onto this architecture because the data stays inside of Bangladesh. And this is one important point that I want to just end with. The data that you, the enterprise, put into this cloud, Team Cloud, even Oracle doesn't see it. It not only stays in New Zealand, but they are the only ones, and even they don't see it unless you give them permission to see it. Your data is as secure as if it was on-prem. Mr. Ellison jokes that this is an on-prem cloud, and no one else has this architecture. No other hyperscaler can do this and offer the services that Team Cloud can offer. And that consistency, the point that Ian made, I want to finish with that. If you build something on this cloud and you need to use it in Sydney and you want to put it on the Sydney data center for Oracle, you just lift and move it. The architecture is identical. If you have a really great idea and you're going to take an ID system, such as you're doing now, that all the governments around the world are beginning to work on. The US has ID.me, which is up and running and a little bit still immature, but it's beginning. The Japanese are building an ID system as well. You'll see the same thing in China and other countries and in India. You can just take that application, as long as it runs on this Alloy infrastructure, Team Cloud, you can lift it and drop on another Oracle infrastructure. It is literally plug and play. So this opens up an opportunity, as you said, not just domestically to keep data sovereign and drive artificial intelligence and build infrastructure faster, cheaper, and more secure, but it also opens up you to the rest of the world for your developers, and most importantly, your young people. And we intend, working with Team Cloud, to get the content of low-code development, cloud management, database management, and we'll provide that to your universities at no charge. They can take that infrastructure and begin educating the next generation so they come cloud ready, they come data ready, and most importantly, they come AI ready. And we don't tell them, well, just go learn Python or R or some other language. We'll give a coding language, including Apex, which is so simple that even I can develop an application with that. So this is really exciting. The future is just incredibly open. But as Louise correctly said, you have to step through this. It's a journey. And we're here to work with you and support you for this journey.
Thank you. Feel that commitment. And Paul and Louise talked about our productivity and skills challenges, so really important to talk about that. Given that we've got public and private sector in the room, thank you for the examples of both. Now, who has the first question for our panel? Don't be shy.
No one has more jet lag than Christian and I, so somebody's going to ask a question.
If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and who your question is directed to.
Actually, it's not a question, it's more of a comment.
Perfect.
Actually. And I think that's because I think about Māori data sovereignty. Yeah. So data sovereignty, thinking about the country in which the data resides, but for Māori data sovereignty, it thinks about Māori maintaining control and ownership of that data. So actually, I'm quite excited to hear about Sovereign Cloud in terms of that data remains onshore within New Zealand. So really just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Kia ora, it's a question for Ian.
We'll just get you a microphone, sorry. Thank you.
Kia ora, Ian. Leon Grandy from Armillary. Can you tell us when you expect to be up and running and when you expect to have clients on board and
Took my
testing
last question.
things out? Yeah. and I know it's a very commercial environment. Perhaps you're happy to share that. Maybe you're not. Maybe you can give us some indications instead. Thank you.
Yeah. So we were hoping for this to be the big bang at the end. Thank you, Leon. We were actually handed the keys and we went live with our first region on Sunday. So, I mean, I didn't do anything. I'm the MD, so I just wait for the phone to ring. There's a heap of people in this room who just worked really hard to make that. But we are now setting up, so we've created our first tenancy. So we're going to set up some demo environments, some other stuff this week, and we're doing some configuration. And our first customer starts migrating into our cloud on the 1st of August.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Thank you, Leon. We've got another question here. Speed.
Just
yes.
for reference, that is the fastest build of a Oracle Cloud region so far in the history of our company. So they are the fastest. We've never built one in 9 months. It will get faster with time, but to date, go live, what Ian just described is and by the way, that's not just Oracle, that's the fastest cloud region that has ever been built by any company on this planet.
Hello, Marie Nordstrand from Education Payroll. Louise, I was really interested in your horizons and I wondered, was there a Horizon 4 that you didn't cover and is there a published paper on this?
Yes, so that's the simple answer. So when we look at any kind of technology, whether it's cloud, artificial intelligence, we always think of what's the opportunities in the future and keeping it real. So we debate amongst ourselves, make sure that we've got the timing right, based on adoption rates, based on how other technologies are maturing. So things such as data governance, security. So the maturity of the country does really shape those horizons. We do have on IDC's website there, we've just launched what we call industry use cases for generative AI. So the last few months we've been working together as a global team, understanding the different horizons around that particular technology. And we try to make that sort of information as publicly available as possible because we understand it's part of generating the conversation, but also uncovering, for a researcher point of view, starting those discussions about, how real do these horizons look? And we go in about every 2 or 3 years and we look at those horizons and say, what has changed? Having said that, when we were talking about artificial intelligence, 3 or 3 years ago, generative AI wasn't even on that horizon. So that's just how quickly things can change and keeping on top of it. While I've got the mic, just talking about Maori data sovereignty, what you were saying there. I think this is something that is really differentiating for New Zealand. We can, I think, yes, we disagree at a country level. There's a lot of discussion that's going on, but what we are doing is we are talking about it as a country. And you look at other countries, it can be quite a regional or just a small group point of view. So we're seeing discussions going on in Canada about Indigenous sovereignty, Thailand, Taiwan, India, Malaysia. they're all having these discussions, but where New Zealand is, I think we're a bit further ahead on that and understanding how important it is to bring that into the discussion and use it to shape our own sovereignty and our own future for technology. So, yeah.
And Garrett, you're obviously nodding your head in agreement there, and also interested to hear, thinking about the future and your global experience, like how do you see the hyperscale cloud solutions evolving in New Zealand? And perhaps, Ian, you can add to that a bit about what steps you're taking to meet that growing demand as well.
So I think the key of innovation is that it always needs a stepping stone. Innovation is not typically born of itself. Something occurs. And in this case, particularly with what we're talking about today, is that you now have access to infrastructure that runs secure, runs cost-effective, and runs sovereign. So your data is protected. You have predictable financials. Oracle is the only cloud that does not charge for egress. And that's one of the big things the AI has not yet taken into consideration with the other hyperscalers, is that you get a big data bill when you run these huge models, but we don't charge for that, and neither does Team Cloud. So you've got the ability to have predictable financials. And then I think the last and probably the biggest step is security. You all have businesses. The fastest way to lose a customer is to lose trust. And if you lose trust, it's very difficult to regain in the digital environment. And one of the things that we've done is this cloud is a Gen 2 cloud. It's a second generation cloud. 15 years ago, Amazon built a cloud to help help organize and ship books. And then they had extra capacity, so they started selling it. About 10 years ago, Microsoft built a cloud, and it was primarily to begin distributing Windows across so that they could have digital architecture to go from on-prem, stop shipping the box, and ship a service. And then Google built a cloud, very remnant of our Gen 1 cloud, which Oracle built about 12 years ago, but it was really just to store and compute. There wasn't that concern of the bad actors in security. We didn't have ransomware. To your earlier point, we just didn't have a lot of things we have today. But what Oracle did is, if you think F1 as an analogy, we kind of took a pit stop. We got off the track, and we let the other guys pass us by. But Mr. Ellison did this because he realized we couldn't just keep taping on capabilities to the old architecture, bolting on and creating, for lack of a better expression, a Frankenstein cloud. Because the integrations, the connections, and the cost was just not going to improve. So we took that pit stop and we rebuilt the cloud architecture from the bottom up. This generation 2, security is the base layer. It's not something bolted on the side. It's founded on an infrastructure that understands the database. We actually use the same network infrastructure, so the pipes, so to speak, are of the same speed. And then the application layer was opened up so that everyone can work with it. We are the only cloud vendor that works with Microsoft and works with Google. We built gateways because we believe, as was earlier stated, that you have to have a multi-cloud strategy. And we put our money and our investments and our product where our mouth was. And what that's done is it's brought this Generation 2 cloud to you here in New Zealand for you to build on, write to, experiment, and innovate. And AI will not be the last innovation. It's just what's happening now. But as Chris showed earlier, the speed of the curve is just so dramatically faster. And what will AI drive? What will it deliver to all of us in this room? It'll drive automation. It'll drive productivity. It'll drive ease of use. It will drive services being delivered that probably used to be delivered by people. And it will create additional productivity. That's the horizon we can see. The exciting horizon is the one that we can't see, that we're not sure about, which is when robots and people begin to learn to interact. And I don't quite frankly know if that's going to be a good outcome or we're all going to be living in Terminator. There's a possibility of that if there's no governance. But I think together, if we get ourselves around this, we can guide that future. We can create, drive, and then innovate on that. And what's exciting, for our children and their children is that one thing is absolutely for sure, that's going to be change. And we can harness it and embrace it and drive it, which I think is what we're talking about today. But you need tools to do that. And this is part of that tool set that we're delivering here with Team Cloud, and we're very excited and proud to be doing so.
Thank you. Ian, any?
Well, just a few things,
Yep.
I think. If I was sitting out there, I'd have some questions in my head. The first one would be, what about capacity? And if we come along to you and we say, we want to move our workload into your cloud, how easy is it for you to scale up? And our agreement with Oracle is that we do monthly capacity planning. So if we know we're going to have a big workload coming on, I phone Christian and say, send some more infrastructure over, and Christian obliges. So we have, yes, so it's elastic. So, and we have the same principle as any other cloud. You can basically breathe in and breathe out in terms of your usage. So you can even breathe out and in within 1 month to limit your expenditure. The next question is probably, what about AI? Because everyone asks that question. So our team cloud has AI in it, and we're using all the AI tools within Oracle Cloud, the same as you'd get in San Francisco or London or elsewhere. All our racks are GPU ready. So if we have big demand for AI, which requires GPU, now AI can run without GPU, but when you get to a certain model size, you do need that extra grunt. Again, that's a phone call potentially to Christian, John, and Stephen to say, can we have some of those as well? So it's really, there's no really cap on what we can do. The last thing that I think we've picked up definitely from talking to people is that people believe that our cloud can only deal with Oracle workloads. But we have infrastructure as a service, and that's just like AWS. It can deal with any kind of workload. And if you're moving your Oracle workloads into our cloud, then it makes sense to move your legacy workloads as well. And the price-performance ratio is incredible in Oracle Cloud.
Yeah, brilliant. So thinking about, the companies that you're going to be working together with in New Zealand, that breathing space would be incredibly valuable, and obviously the economic environment. I think we had a question down. Yes, beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Kia ora, Alistair here from Revolution InfoSec. You'd be surprised that I'm going to ask you a question about security coming from InfoSec. Yeah, so Garrett, thanks for your mention of security. I was just going to wonder, you know, you look at AWS, you look at Azure, they'll talk a big talk about security, but do they actually have a whole lot of certification? They always talk about the onus being on you, or at least a shared model. But I noticed that you might have some certifications from day one. What certifications are they in the security landscape?
So at the risk of my engineering team coming and tackling me on stage, I'll try to address that. I'll actually give you a better point than certificates and commitments. Oracle actually has a different architecture. And some people might say, you know, whoa, you guys think you're smarter than everybody else. And that's actually not the case. It's based out of experience. We're a 47-year-old database company. And decades ago, we recognized that in database management, you don't give the database controller access to the data. They're just a controller. They sit on a different control panel, they sit on a different server, and they manage the database, they monitor the database, they make sure the database is working, and it's scaling, and it's operational, but they never touch the data. They don't have access to that. When we developed Generation 2, besides the fact that we learned a lot about clustering from things like database and that we learned that networks have to operate faster, we also took the database paradigm, and the architecture of the Oracle Cloud is different. Our control plane sits on a different CPU. So if in the event the infrastructure was breached, typically this happens at the hypervisor layer, a lot of times through VMware and others, it would breach the control plane, but it would never allow the bad actor, so to speak, to get into your data. What it would do is just shut down the control. Now, could you upgrade? Could you scale at that point in time? No. But if you've got a bad actor in your infrastructure, you're not worried about scaling and you're not worried about upgrading. You're worried about making sure your data's protected, your credit card numbers, your telephone numbers, your subscriber numbers, your addresses. That stuff they can't get to. And that architecturally is an enormous difference than the way other clouds, Gen 1 clouds, have been built. They will get there, but they're not going to get there this year, next year, or probably in the next couple of years, because it's a paradigm shift in infrastructure and architecture. So the security layer, with all the certificates and all the government approvals and all the IRAPs and everything else we've done around the world, all very important. But the most important thing is we don't have a door to go through. So when they land on our processor and we detect, we just shut it down. And basically we trap the ransomware, we trap the bad actor. And then we can clean that out, bring it back online, reconnect to the infrastructure when clean. And that protects our customers' data from having basically be wrongly accessed, to lack of a better expression. So all of those certificates and working with foundations, we take it extremely serious. We've done FedRAMP in the governments in the US. We're doing everything in Australia. We'll do in New Zealand. We're doing it in Japan. But the most important thing is we don't have that gateway for the secure breach to occur.
We've got time for one last question. Diana, beautiful.
Hello, I'm Diana. Nice to meet you. I tend to work with the startup ecosystem and in particular AI-driven applications. So what is your approach to the startup ecosystem in New Zealand, and how are you encouraging them to jump on your cloud, given the rate of innovation that we're already experiencing there? We're actually leading the way in a lot of places already in AI-driven applications. So it tends to be focused on AWS a lot. I would love to hear about whether you want to work with more startups who are actively innovating in that space now, and what your thoughts are about helping us do even more so.
Well, that's what we want to do. We realise, from I guess a marketing and a reputation, AWS is ahead at the moment, but we think we can offer so much. We have a partner manager and her job is basically just to deal with partners and help other partners to move into our cloud. We are looking for an ecosystem of New Zealand's best to help them to develop their products in our cloud and to try to turn those into exports as well. And I was just talking to someone last week. He has a first-class degree in maths, and he talks about stuff that I don't understand. I'm not even close to understanding. But he's got a fantastic mind, and he's developed this amazing model, and he wants to put it into AI. So we will bring them on as a partner. We will almost fund the initial startup because they, until they get funding, or maybe we can organise funding through someone like Leon, who's just had to leave early. But we are really about trying to promote innovation and productivity in New Zealand, Inc.
I love that we gave all that responsibility to Leon while he's not in the room, but so many exciting announcements today, and I really want to thank our panel, obviously, for being here with us today, and to Team Cloud and to Oracle for trusting the Circle with the launch and the excitement of today's event. It's been brilliant to spend time with all of you and to get to know our Oracle EV and VPs visiting us, and you're more than welcome to stay and come back as much as you want, of course. But I am going to hand over to John Eastman, who's the Country Manager for Oracle, who will formally propose the vote of thanks.
I'll jump up here. I'll risk it.
And I'll just ask the panel to stay here while we do the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sharon. What a fantastic event, and thank you so much to all the speakers. I'd like to start with a vote of thanks to all 5 of them. Yes. And we have, that was a big one. We have a gift which I'll pass out as we leave. But this is a gift from Thea Weiss, who's the creative director from Circle. She's got an independent piece of artwork. They're all entitled In the Moment. And I think that's particularly fitting right now because we are in the moment of what for us, and I hope for New Zealand, is going to be a very significant. I just want to touch on a couple of things that we've heard today. Paul, thank you so much for hearing us all about trust. And I think for us here today, so we know that this could be the starting place of Oracle being an even greater contributor of how we can continue to offer and generate trust with Ian and Craig with Team Cloud, and we're very excited about the opportunity to do that. Chris, data and AI. I'm going to get you to sing that later on. No data, no AI. Thank you so much. The growth of AI, and we're not there yet. Very strong messages and so much more that we can. And with this partnership with Team Cloud, we're very much looking forward to that. Garrett, Christian, the last 9 months have been a hell of a journey. There's a lot more to come. Thank you for your support for New Zealand. Thank you for the investment in what we've done and all the work we're going to do in the future. And Louise, thank you so much for your insights. And it's fantastic to hear about what will be we don't yet know about from you as insights. And finally, Ian and Craig. It's been a great journey. We are underway, and with that, I'd just like to thank all of the panel, and thank you, and I hope you all have a great day. Before I go, there is one thing. Yes, I just want, because today was the first day, and because not everybody actually knows what we're doing with Team Cloud. We're learning a little bit about marketing, we're learning a little bit about how do we actually get the messaging out. So as part of learning more about what we're doing with Team Cloud, we've got, I think it's almost 13 events that we're doing between now and November. We'll be sharing a lot more information about this. So this is an opportunity to learn for the developer community, how we actually, and that was a great question, thank you. We're really looking forward to sharing more with people we don't know, people who have been adopting cloud services and now have the opportunity for sovereign cloud services. So we have a number of events which will get invites to you, I'm sure, through that period of time. We're going to all around the country, Christchurch, Hamilton, Auckland, back in Wellington, and anyone who wants to join us in Vegas, you're also very welcome. With that, I'd just say thank you very much, and please a round of applause to the speakers.
Thank you, John. Thank you all for being here with us. Please do stay, network, tea and coffee, and our speakers will be here for the next 15 minutes or so if you have any further questions. But on behalf of the Circle, thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you all again in the near future.